be part 3 in our series. I'm very excited about this one, obviously, because it's a bit more back to our reason to be, networking and whiskey tasting. We didn't know if this kind of thing was going to be possible for the last few months, especially as we had the prohibition and everything. And we definitely at the start of the year wouldn't have anticipated doing a networking and whiskey tasting over the internet. So lots of things have changed and then unchanged, and we're back here again. So it's brilliant to actually do this. So we're finishing off our personal and business improvement webinar series, which has been really cool. Starting off with our LinkedIn Masterclass before going into Google and search engine optimization. And now it's really properly into self-improvement, to learn how to actually network properly, to actually put that into practice, to meet each other now. People probably haven't met strangers for a long time, I'm sure. And there's lots of strangers on this call, as we know, including myself. And it'll be cool to actually do some of the things that we're actually supposed to be doing. So business networking is our thing. And as BISA, what are we supposed to be doing? We're a business network, obviously, and we're here to connect people, and particularly business people, between South Africa and Ireland. And we operate some chapters from Cape Town all the way up to Nairobi, with Joburg and Harare in between. And we're growing, and we've kind of started BISA Johannesburg this year, of all years, to do it. And I think we're trying to find our path really on where we're trying to go, and we're really looking for that input from you, the members, and some of our new members online here, like Martin and Pete. It's great to see you guys on the call. I'm looking forward to actually interacting a little bit later. And then for people who are not actually following us and who are maybe catching up on YouTube, please follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter. On our website is businessireland.coza, and keep an eye on your inboxes, and maybe add us to your safe list, which is always good to get in get our email straight to your inbox for your invites and stuff like that. So I'll just go through a little bit of the agenda for the evening, and maybe some little housekeeping items. So tonight's going to be interactive, hopefully. Everybody's going to get to speak their mind, meet some new people, have a few drinks, obviously, and get involved in the evening. So maybe have a drink already and loosen yourselves up to get ready for this bit of networking if you're nervous. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a networking masterclass, and then we're going to break out into smaller groups. So we're going to leave this call and join another Zoom call. So we're going to show the details about that later, just in a few minutes, about which link you're going to go on to, and then who you're going to actually meet. So that should make it as easy as possible. And then once we're in the new groups, it's going to be little smaller groups of people who are dialed in, so we get to meet each other. And then we're going to come back to the main webinar, and that'll all be explained during both calls. So we're going to try and make it easy. So please, thanks Wes, see that. So please get a pen and paper ready so you can write down your Zoom meeting rooms to dial into with the passcode. So that'll make it easier, because if you're on your phones or your laptops, you might lose this call, and you mightn't be able to actually find the numbers. So let's make it a little bit easier for people. Yeah, so that'll be to write down your group name, your meeting ID, and the password. So that'll make things a little bit easier. And then for the whiskey tasting later, so I'll just give you time now when we're getting set up really. You could get, if you could get a glass of room temperature water and 4 empty glasses, obviously, to put your different whiskeys in, because we don't want to put the same ones in the same glasses. So that will be our housekeeping. So I think once I introduce our speakers now, well, our second speaker will be joining us later, so I'll introduce her a little bit later. So after maybe I introduce our speaker first, then we can take time, go and get your pen, get your glass of water, and get your empty glasses for your whiskey. Okay, so our first speaker and our facilitator for the evening is the #1 search engine results and the top 4 search engine results, to build upon our previous webinar, for when you search for Mark Peters. Despite him sharing his name with the Madiba photographer who famously photographed Nelson Mandela coming out of prison with the raised fist, also the lead singer of a band and an estate agent. So well done, you're doing something well there, clearly, Mark. He's got vast experience across academia and the consulting world, from South Africa to Germany and back again, Namibia. He's got vast international experience. He's also our BISA Inter-Chamber Leader, who's building relationships with business networks and chambers in South Africa, using his already vast network. He's our BISA resident networking expert, and he's here to guide us through the evening. So please, everybody, welcome Mr. Mark Peters.
Thank you, John. Much appreciated. Thank you, David, for hosting me. Good evening, everybody. I recognize several of the names, not everybody, but hello, Eamon, Amanda, Angie, John Murphy. Hello, John. Keza, welcome back, guys. Martin, don't know. Pete, hello, Pete van Jaarsveld. Nice to have you guys. Ross, welcome. Wesley and Willie, lovely to have you guys with me. And the process this evening is a very straightforward, short introduction to networking. Many South Africans view networking as arriving at an event, usually in the evening, having a glass of wine, sitting at the same table with people that we arrived with, and then going home and wondering why we didn't meet any new people. We tend to gravitate towards people we know. That's human nature, it's human behavior. And we quite struggle with the difficulty of finding a new people to talk to, and most importantly, sell our value, sell our service, sell our product to. And so what I want to spend just a few minutes with you, I literally have a couple of slides. If David can put that up for me, or John, if you can take down your masterclass slide, that would be great. Let me just go back and see if, okay, there we go. Guys, I'll put it back up again for you.
John, repeat, Mark.
Just get that. Sorry, guys, it doesn't. Okay. Doesn't. John, you've lost my slide on me.
Should we give people opportunity then to get the pen and paper?
Yeah, please. Thank you, John. But David, I'm...
Okay, so everybody, if you can get your pen and paper, your room temperature glass of water, and then your 4 empty glasses while Mark's setting up, then we should be ready to go. And Mark, you can see...
can you see that, John?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Okay, so let's continue with your idea. If we'll give people 2 minutes to do that. Thank you, John.
So Mark, just to jump in for the benefit of our attendees tonight, guys, as David here in the background, I'm hosting. I've got allocated different people to room A, B, and C. And in the chat section of the webinar, I'm going to share the URL for your particular group, the meeting ID and the passcode, and I'll put your names allocating which group you're going to join. So just keep an eye on the chat section of the webinar. I'm going to drop those details right now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Okay, so without any further ado, thanks for that, David. Let's just go on. So just to talk about what the objectives for this short session are. Have an improved awareness around the main issues of networking. If you don't have that by the time our colleagues from Perno are on board, I will not have succeeded. I would like you to think about networking within the context of your company, and most importantly, to look at some of the models and techniques that we would like to deal with. If you get bored, you can always look at the giraffe eating some grass or something like that. And so defining networking, so before COVID, the statistics globally, I don't think they were any different in South Africa, was that 30% of your clients in 2020, and this was, as I say, before the pandemic, were likely to leave you for whatever reasons. 1, they go out of business. 2, they immigrate. 3, they want to use someone else. 4, there's another contact in there that has their own people that they'd like to deal with. So the concept of networking says, how do we replace our existing business with new business? And everybody has contacts. Everybody has a list, what we used to call a Rolodex. Everybody has the Rolodex, a bunch of business cards, but the reality is that not many of us turn those into useful, workable opportunities. And so networking is using contacts to develop leads, and that's called networking. Using these contacts to develop leads for your business is what we describe as networking. Some people are, as we know, are avid networkers. They're very capable. They're quite extrovert in nature, but there's absolutely no research that supports the concept that people who are introverts are not good networkers. Very interesting research showing us that men tend to have a broader network, but women have a smaller network, but it's more intimate. And both work for different reasons. The classic example given is that if men had a cancer experience, they're not likely to tell too many people at all, whereas women will tell almost everybody in their network. It's a much more intimate type arrangement. So this is quite important for us in terms of the strategic process of networking. Where are you now, and where do you want to be from a sales or a new business generation lead? So let's assume, Pete, in your human resource business, or Angie in your business, you decide that you need to grow next year by, say, 14 to 20%. That's where you want to be in 2021. And then the question is, how will you get there? What are the gaps that you need to fill? How many clients will you need to make up that number? And how long will it take you to get them? What is the average lead time? We know as a result of the pandemic, those lead times have taken a lot longer. So in my world, what might have taken 3 months, John Murphy, you might be the same. Now it's taking closer to 6 months. And this time of the year is important in my world, may not be as important in your world, to make sure that we open those proposals and discussions. Looking at the options, who are they, where are they, how many new people are we meeting, and I'm going to talk about the meeting and questions to ask in a moment. Choosing your strategy, what do you want to do, sort of what markets do you want to serve in the new year, are they going to change in any way, and most importantly, implementing the strategy. 67% of written sales strategies are never implemented. And that's a number from the Financial Times last year, 67. So a full 2/3 of written business development strategies are never implemented. Reaching the destination, I suppose in theory, is a moot point from the perspective that you never really want to actually get to the key destination. You always want to keep rolling it forward, and the suggestion is quarterly or half yearly to do that. I'm going to set you a target in a moment of what I think you need to do monthly, but that's a personal view. So looking at your networking for competitive advantage, that is a real number, by the way. They've left you in 2020. We don't know the impact, we think we do, but we don't know the impact of COVID on our sales strategy. Reputation, the second or of networking. Without a reputation, you've got nothing. People won't buy from you. They don't want to entertain discussions with you, generally speaking. 2 words for me that define networking: trust and reciprocity. We need to trust the people in our network. That's very important. And over a period of time, there needs to be some reciprocity. So let's give an example of that. Let's say David, who's managing the webinar tonight, continually provides me with leads. I never thank him, and I never give any reciprocity on the transactions he has given me. And the reality then is the network breaks down very fast. And like golf, I put that for John and Willie, like golf, the follow through is what counts. You can do that today, obviously on your cell phone, for example. There's a whole load of apps that work really well. We do find, and this is not a generational issue, we still do find that sitting with business cards still work better than loading the details on your app on your phone, and then you're not able to retrieve them. Be careful about going to a networking evening. Ladies sticking the business cards in your handbag, guys sticking them in your top shirt pocket. When you get home, you throw them out. You've completely wasted your time. So follow through. I'll describe follow through in a moment. But one of the things in the follow through, guys, that's critical is to always thank people that you've had a discussion with. And we're going to practice that in a few moments. I'll hand over to David. Branded you, John, thanks for all the kind words in introducing me. You can be my praise singer anytime, but it is how we want people to introduce ourselves. It is how when somebody comes up with an opportunity, that's great. I know a consultant who can do that. I know a human resource guy that can do that. I know a great training specialist. I know a search engine optimization person that can help you. And we still today, despite Google, despite LinkedIn, all of those tools that we might use, the reality is there's nothing that beats a personal recommendation. So building your brand, guys, and that doesn't matter how old or how young we are, we do need to continue to build our brand. I would say that even for people in a corporate environment, it's quite sad when people have been in a corporate environment for a very long time and they haven't built their personal brand. Building your personal brand will command premium prices, especially for you if you're selling a personalized service. People like Keza, for example, or Eamon, selling a personal service, you can command a higher price for your service or your product if you've built a brand. Branding is the why, but networking is the method. So branding is why we do it, but networking is the method. Refer people and act as a connector. Some of you are naturally very good at that. You like connecting people. You'll say things on a regular basis. I know somebody, I have a friend who's an estate agent. Can I put you in touch with them? I have a friend who's a consultant in fintech. Can I put you in touch with them? I like the term, personally, it's a little bit dated today, but I like the term signposter. So I like people to phone me, mail me and say, Mark, do I know somebody? Because it gives me the chance to be that ham in the sandwich and make the connections and do the reciprocity. And as I've said here, relationships are key. Without relationships, guys, we will do no networking, and it's very, very difficult to make the sale. So some of the checklist, I'm almost done. David, I'll hand over to you in a moment. Maximize your visibility. I'd like to suggest to you that you're doing approximately 10 networking events a year. They don't have to be formal networking events like this. They can be going to a Chamber of Commerce, they can be going to a lecture, they can be going to a parent-teacher evening, for example, with your kid's school, if that's relevant. It can be going to a wedding, and you're connecting with people. And know your power as a networker, guys. Are you good at it or bad? Do you like to go with somebody and use them as somebody to help you do that? Politicians do that all the time. I'm not suggesting you do that, but just be careful if you're meeting your best friends at a networking event that you don't spend the whole evening with them and you go home, you've had a nice evening, you've had a nice couple of glasses of wine, etc., etc. Build your influencing skills. Business cards, I see I've spelled business incorrectly, apologies. Business card, guys, I know a lot of people feel they're very dated. That is not the case internationally. People do take pictures of the business cards. It's very common to have an app like that on your phone. The only difficulty with that is if you don't remember the person's name, you may find it more difficult to retrieve the information. Manage your network. How often will you continually go back to them? My personal view, and this is just a personal tip, I tend not to chase people more than 3 times. If they haven't responded, or the penny hasn't dropped, or I feel that I'm now being a bit of a pain, I will not go back more than 3 times. But I will ensure that I am following up on my proposals, because that's a complete waste of time if you don't do that. Clearly, they're great technology and simple technology apps. John Murphy and I have worked with the Salesforce app, for example. That's quite a complex one for big organizations, but that would be an extreme example. But you can build your own app to help you with that, or your own Excel spreadsheet. So I sit in an office with approximately 3,000 business cards that I have sold to over a 10-12 year period. Many of them are now gone, of course. Many of them are no longer valid. Probably, I guess, 60% of them are no longer valid. But sometimes I just need to know the company name and then who is the person who took over from that person. Almost last, guys, all people in the network are not equal. Some people, it's the old 80-20 principle, Pareto's law. 20% of your network will give you 80% of your revenue, or some such numbers. And that has proven to be true year on year. Principles of networking, guys, we've got to develop these skills. The handshake, guys, the limp handshake doesn't work. It puts people off. Please try to remember people's names, find a mechanism. People don't mind if you apologize and you say things like, apologies, I've forgotten your name, I'm quite bad with names. People don't, but don't try to fluff it. My old boss, who actually was a very good salesperson, could never remember anybody's name, and it used to piss people off terribly. And he'd say, how are you today, lad? How are you today, lass? And it would be quite demeaning. Reciprocity, very important. So if somebody is continually working with you, as I've said, you've got to find some way of being reciprocal. And then lastly, which we're going to talk about in a moment, is the elevator speech. I'm going to give you a chance to practice that this evening. And it's taken me quite a long time, as somebody who can be quite verbose in nature. It's taken me quite a long time to work out what it is I can tell people about what I do that won't make them think it's too academic, he's too boring, we don't really have any interest. So I've landed my plane in saying very quickly, I assist organizations meet their strategic objectives. That's where I've put it in one sentence. It's on my website, it's on my email. And then the next question people often ask is, how do you do that? And then that's your opportunity tonight to talk about those things. Just some of the tools, guys, very quickly. I'm going to ask you later on what tools that you use when we close this next piece before we move on. My mother always told me, never try to compete with somebody who's providing dinner or lunch as a speaker. Now I've got to compete with Johnny Green running a whiskey tasting. So I've got no chance in competing with that. But guys, I personally don't use Facebook much, but LinkedIn is a huge source of information for me, and I don't have the advanced package. I did try it for a while. I've got a large number of people over the years that I've collected, and I find it really useful. It also is a home for your IP of your network, so make sure that people connect with you on LinkedIn. I'm setting you a challenge of 10 new contacts a month, starting in the month of October. We're on the 1st of October, especially at this time of year. 10 new contacts a month, and it is not your hairdresser. It's not the barman at the Radium beer hall. These are 10 business contacts a month that you can start to build your network. Thanking is always a second opportunity to deal with people. I know it sounds old-fashioned, but a short note to say, dear Angie, it was really nice to meet you at the previous BISA meeting. Here's my contact details. Let me know if ever I can help you and we can follow up. Be careful of confusing motion with progress. It's a very, very common trait in our market at the moment. Even some of the best salespeople fall into that trap. They're busy, busy, busy walking around with pieces of paper, but they're not actually achieving much. So under that item, I want you to think about monitoring and evaluation. Start building your 2021 plan this evening, guys, especially for those of you who are working for yourselves in some shape or form. And I recognize many of the names. And that's what we're about at BISA, is helping you think about that plan. And if we as BISA can help you with that, let us know. I think that was what I wanted. Yeah. Okay. So that was where I wanted to go. I wanted just to get out of this very quickly and just then give you some instructions. I see the chats are up with, let me just see. David, did you want to put that chat up on my chat? There's nothing appearing, but just to say, I'm going to ask you to break now, unless there are any questions, into the rooms that David has given you, A, B, and C. So we're breaking the group equally. There's about 4 or 5 people in each room. And I want you to introduce yourselves in the next 15 minutes. I'm giving you 3 minutes each, that's all, to introduce yourselves. My name is Mark Peters, this is what I do, and then I want you to allow the others to introduce themselves. We've put a BISA committee member in each group, and in some cases there's more than one, and that's just to facilitate the discussion. I want you to come back to the main room in about 16 minutes time or so. We'll do a quick debrief with the 3 teams. We'll do a quick debrief, and I want to see if any of you have made a connection that you could use after this evening. Okay, so that's the, in a nutshell, David, I've brought that in on time and in budget. I'm going to hand over to you, and I will remain in this room if there are any questions.
Perfect. Thanks a million, Mark. I was busy perfecting that firm handshake with my wife as you were chatting at the end. So, guys, hopefully everybody has seen in the chat section what group you're in. If I just quickly scan up again, Room A is hosted by John Green, who you heard from earlier, and it's John Murphy, Martin Schmidt, Andrew Millard, and Wesley Sauter in Room A. And then you got the link, ID, and passcode. Room B, I'll be hosting and starting up in a few seconds. And joining me will be Amanda Wild, Luke Govender, Ross Williams, and Piet van Jaarsveld. And the details are underneath. And then room C will be hosted by Eamon Ryan, and we'll have Willie Cross, Aidan Casterly, Desmond Latham, and Keza Ryan joining us in that group. So for all the groups, you have your URL, and then you've got your meeting ID and passcode. I'm going to keep this webinar open just for purposes, just so when you do come back in, it will remain always open, a bit like your local engine garage. So we'll keep it open, and I'm going to log in my old phone. So just if you want to get ready, guys, find your link and log in preferably on either this device or a separate device. See you guys just now.
Thank you, David. All right, ladies and gents, we're almost all back. So in the interest of time, and we've got at great expense Marendi in the wings to take over. But John, if I could just ask you, as one of the facilitators in your group, how was the experience in dealing with your 3 or 4 delegates, and was there anything interesting to report back?
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was a group of 3 of us, and just reading the chat there. Yeah, and we got deep in conversation about sustainable development, and the conversation was flowing nicely, and I think we've got some opportunities going forward, and maybe with BISA and maybe between John Murphy and Wes, we can make some more contacts. So I think it was pretty productive.
How did you get on to sustainable development? So
Wes was telling us about his business, and basically all about what he's doing right now, which is all around the sustainable development goals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a discussion on what he was doing. Okay. Thank you, John. David, tell us about what happened in your group.
Indeed, we had 4 quite different people. We had myself, Amanda, Pete, and we also had Ross Williams. Right. So we obviously spoke about what we individually do, and found quite a few mutual connections. Piet van Jaarsveld has joined us. I know he's an old friend of some of the long-standing members of BISA. Spent a long time in Ireland. Has got a great grow for the country. He's originally accountant, but settled back and has various industries. A multi-skilled guy, a bit like me on the musical instruments. He's dabbled his hands in many industries, so a great new connection to have made. Amanda, of course, we had the pleasure of listening to a couple of months ago in one of our first webinars. She's busy revolutionizing hospitals around South Africa with a different, a very different approach to to what we usually hear in the clinical environment. Amanda's been doing great things, as we know, and very much staying at the forefront of the healthcare industry with her probiotics. Ross also as well, he's been very successful with Succession Capital, sealing big deals, medium-sized deals, and very much across a broad range of industries. So there's lots of networking, a lot of industry experience there. I probably feel like the novice amongst them, but very good to chat, and with new and familiar faces as well.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that a lot. Eamon, last but not least, how did your group go?
Yeah.
I know 1 or 2 people struggled to get in.
Yeah, we didn't have everyone join that was on the list, but we had an interesting discussion, and there's definitely some mutual connections. Like, for example, Willie, who is in my group, has a son that works for the same company I'm working on a project at the moment. So it's a small world.
It is a small world.
Yeah.
Too small. And they say 7 steps removed from a networking point of view. I think in Johannesburg especially, it's a lot less than that. Well, ladies and gents, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for connecting with your colleagues. Hopefully I'll hear stories about you doing some business. It's been a pleasure being on the line with you. I'm going to stay on the line and enjoy Marendi's presentation. John, over to you.